So welcome back, aliens. Now in this video we'll talk about visibility, invisibility and gone features. So for that what we'll do is we'll try to take three buttons here, okay, and before that let me change this layout to linear layout. So how to change the layout? Go back to text and we'll say this is, instead of relative layout, let's use linear layout here, and we don't require any padding here. We can remove all the padding, and the type of orientation we need is orientation, we'll say this is vertical because we want the objects one below the other. Let's drag some more buttons. So we'll say this is second button and that's our third button, right? So in total we have three buttons. Now this can be any view. We can have text, we can have a layout itself, we can have an image view, we can have a progress bar. But just for the example, I'm showing you the button layout here, or the button component. So let me set a text as, we'll say this is button 1, and we'll say this is btn 1. This is button 2, so this is button 2. Oh, I forgot to mention the ID, so we'll say btn 2, and this is your button 3, and we'll set this is btn 3, right? So we have to set all this, we have set it all these IDs and the text. Now what I want here, we'll talk about some layouts here, which is not layout but the features of a component. So there's a feature called as invisible, visible and gone. Now what it actually means. So let's say if I set the visibility, so let's say for button, not button 1, let's say for button 2, if I set the visibility, so we'll set visibility, and if I mention this as, by default is visible, right? So you can see that on the preview section here we are able to say it, right? But if I make it invisible, okay, it's invisible, so you can see the button is gone, right? So you cannot see button now, but still logically it's not visible, but physically it is there, right? It is there. That's why you're getting this gap. So that's why you have button 1 and button 3. So you have a gap here which is for button 2. So that's invisible. So what is gone then? If you mention gone, so this component will be actually gone. So you don't have anything called as button 2 there. We just have button 1 and button 3, right? So let me just write it once again. If I write invisible, so the button will be there but it will not be visible, right? So physically it is there but it's not visible, right? So that's invisible, and by default it will be visible. Even if you don't mention that, it is visible, right? So this is button 1, it is visible, button 2 is visible, and button 3 is visible. Simple, right? So let me make it visible, or let me just remove this thing. So let's not see this using XML. Let's try to do some coding. So what I want here, as soon as I click on this button 2, it should get invisible. If I press button 3, it should make button 2 visible and button 3 should be invisible. How to do that? First we require these three buttons here. So we'll say button BT or button BT, I will say B1, comma B2, comma B3. So we got these three buttons. Let's import the package for button. That's done. Now let's assign the memory for that. So we have to assign the memory inside on create, right? So what we'll do is we'll say B1 equal to, the type of object we'll be getting is button. So we'll say this is button, and then we can say find view by ID. Then we'll say this is r.id dot what, btn1. So that's the one. Then we can just reuse the code. Okay, that's paste. That's only we have only three buttons, right? So this is B2, this is B3, this is btn2 and btn3, right? So once we got these objects, now I want to assign the listener, right? So I hope you remember, every time you work with a button you have to add a listener. So we have multiple ways of doing that. One of the way is using this feature of button. So we can say what it is, on click. So it is, let's say this is B1 clicked. Okay, so that's the method you have to define here. So we can just copy this code for every button. So this is btn, what is that, on click, it's here, that's bt2, so that should be bt or b2 clicked, and for button 3 we'll say this is b3 clicked. Sounds good. Now let's go back to the code, and here we'll create those three methods. So we'll say this is public void it was b1 clicked, so that was the method name, right? So but b1 clicked, and we have to pass an object of view. That's compulsory, right? Because we have to mention that which where we are performing the action, so that's view there. And then we can say whenever you click b1, so it should make b1 invisible, so I will say set visibility. So that's the feature. Now we have to pass a constant here, so you can see it is asking for the int value, so it needs a constant. So we'll say make it invisible, right? So it will be b1 will be invisible. At the same time, the other two will be visible. I don't know if they are visible or not, but we'll make it visible. So we say view dot visible, so that's visible. And then the same thing for b3, so we'll say this is b3, it should be visible, right? And we can do the same thing for three different methods. We have three different methods, right? So we'll say copy paste and copy paste. So this should be b2, this should be b3, right? So that's okay. So in this scenario, b2 should be invisible and b1 should be visible. Here b3 should be invisible and b1 or b2 should be, no, it's b1 and b2, right? And that's it. Now let's try to run this. I don't know what output I'll be getting. So if I run this code in the emulator, which I already have here, so it will take some time to load. Now we have three buttons here. So if I click on this button 1, so you can see it is invisible, right? And if I click on button 2, so button 2 becomes invisible and we got button 1 and button 3. If I click on button 3, so it becomes invisible and we got other two visible, right? So that's how it is possible here. But I don't want to use visible or invisible, I want to make it gone. So the advantage of gone is it will be actually gone, so there will not be any traces. So not even it will not even occupy any space in this screen. And if I run this code now, just to see what output we get, it's running, come up. Okay, it's taking some time. Okay, so now if I click on this button 2, so you can see it's gone, right? Button 2 gone. If I click on button 1, so button 1 gone, we got button 2 and 3. If I click on button 3, so button 3 gone, right? So it will save some space of your screen. Now it's not just you'll be able to use invisibility feature with buttons. You can use it with anything. You can use it with what you can say, a layout. You can use it with image view. You can use it with anything you want. Cool. So that's how we work with we work with invisibility in Android. So thank you so much for watching, and do subscribe for the videos.